All right, welcome back to another edition of the Bob and Marcel Show. Today, there's Marcel. Anyway, I should have said the Bob and that guy show,
That guy.
But today we got a really cool show. This is going to be just one of hopefully many. And because Zoom has limited us on our time, we're going to probably make this two episodes out of one. We got Dan, but I said your last name wrong last time, didn't I? Dan Bogosian. John Kornak. You are the CEO of the Eisenhower Center, right?
Yep.
Okay.
And then
John Shea, my buddy from Detroit, fellow hockey fan. I met him out here in Las Vegas, and we spent most of the game just talking about hockey. So that was pretty cool.
And thank you for making this happen, Bob and Marcel. Seriously, we've been
John,
working on this
you
for a
put this
while.
together. Thank you, man. We appreciate this.
Thank you.
Just to let everybody know, we had a talk yesterday, and it was, eye-opening. This whole program that Eisenhower Center has is absolutely phenomenal for veterans, for athletes. And we're going to let John Kornak really open up like he did yesterday and tell us what's going on with the Eisenhower Center. So John, Marcel had a question for you yesterday. You want to start with that question, Marcel?
Yeah, you folks opened up the Eisenhower Center in 1993, but it was mostly to take care of individuals with traumatic brain injuries, mostly as a result of car crashes from Michigan's auto no-fault system. Now, how did you go from car crashes? How did you segue to veterans?
Well, what we found is many times the veteran that's injured isn't injured on the battlefield. They're injured in a car accident. And so with a lot of car accidents, there's a lot of behavioral work that has to be done. So they can't live at home anymore. They're too difficult at home. And if you think of about a military man who's strong, who's been in a war, who's had to be aggressive and been in a lot of structure, they need to come to a center like Eisenhower Center. So they're not like a typical person with a head trauma. They're a person with a head trauma that have the thinking of a military person. Okay. Everything's structured. So Eisenhower was structured like that because of the behavioral health that we do. We're one of the first centers in the country to take behavioral health that seriously. So we've been working in the tough field of the hard cases for a long time. So when we got the veterans that were also the tough cases around the country. They'd come in here, we'd give them the services, and then we'd discharge them to home. And most of the time it was in a really good way. The quality of service was there. The outcomes were amazing. So we believe that it was almost like a calling to help veterans. When the war started, the injuries came off the battlefield. Those were the concussions, but that goes along. To be honest with you, to get blown up by a bomb is about the same thing as getting hit by a car. And we found that the same thing with the NFL players and the professional athletes, them hitting themselves every day, the outcome was the same. It's the concussions, it's the CTE, it's the behaviors that are kind of out of control. It's the frontal lobe damage. So we are one of those centers that take the hardest cases. So we just fit for this need. We knew that we had to be one of the leaders so people could see the model for care in this field. And so we take that very seriously. We see a need and we put a healthcare model around it. We're not one of those centers that kind of waits to see what other people are doing. We figured they should all be following us because for the veterans, you just get out of our way. If you're not going to save a life, you're basically just getting in the way of the next person we can care for. So that's who we are. That's who Eisenhower is for the veterans.
So what about non-impact brain? In other words, like what about people that were exposed to chemicals in the war that right. Then years later bring on the Alzheimer's and the dementia?
Yeah, a lot of that Alzheimer's and dementia. When they need care from an Eisenhower Center, a lot of that goes down some of those same paths where the behaviors take precedence even over the dementia. It's where they're, people, that's why you have locked units in the geriatric wards and the nursing homes, because they're older people, yes, but they're also very aggressive older people. So that's what we were seeing with the toxic injuries to the brain, is that the behaviors were also out of control. And that's kind of where, that's our niche. That's where we are comfortable. It's kind of a, you have to have a passion for it, because it's a difficult center to work in. It's a difficult center to stay focused, and a difficult center to make sure that those outcomes are as good as we can get them. So we work in the PTSD world, we work in the sexual trauma world, we work in the family and individuals. We want the families here to experience how we can help your loved one get better, and also making you stronger. So we work in the different areas because they were part of the injury. It's the same as substance abuse. If you do traumatic brain injury and you don't do substance abuse, you're not really a traumatic brain injury or a concussion facility.
Right.
Wow.
So we've had to expand.
What I've seen personally, and the number of people I've talked to, that families, especially the wives, their husbands coming back from Afghanistan, it is a completely different person coming back here. It's 180 degrees. And a lot of them, they just don't know how to handle it, what to do, who to talk to, where to go. And obviously now they do with you guys. And I mean, is that something we can refer people to you?
Oh, sure. I mean, we're in Michigan primarily. We have a facility in Florida and one in Michigan, but we have the capacity on Selfridge National Guard base to have housing, to have food, to have families, to have everything all together. What happens is they're not the same person. And so they're kind of lost for a bit. And it's helping them find a new pathway can be cumbersome to the family. And that's the last thing a veteran who's just really given everything. Let's face it, they've been on the battlefield, they've given their whole life for this country. And now they might lose their family because they can't quite find their way again. That's what we're about. It's like, how do we help you find your way? How do we help you find your calm so you can move forward in your life? And so the families are the people who probably need us as much as the person who's been injured. And they just have to call Eisenhower Center.
Yeah.
EisenhowerCenter.com.
Yeah. Okay. There you go. We'll make sure there's plenty of links for that. Yeah. You know, last night I was watching TV. I was watching Chicago Med, and they had a case on there where a wife came in with her husband, and she had a long history of being beat up. And the husband was in Afghanistan. He's been back for 3 months. He had no idea this was happening. And they discovered that it was, I forgot what they called it, but it had something to do with PTSD, like nightmares or night traumas or something. Sure. He had no idea that he was doing that. And she was protecting him. But I got to think that, you know, if that's on TV like that, and it's real, because I did some research too.
Sure.
How much is that going on? And so many people don't even know they're doing stuff like that.
When you're sleep deprived, for as long as they are, our soldiers, remember, it's not a normal life anymore when you're out there, right? It's a different life. So you don't have sleep patterns that are healthy, and you have night terror. And when that occurs, your body reacts. You don't have to be awake. A soldier has been trained so much that their body does what it was trained to do, even if it's sound asleep.
Yeah.
So
that's because isn't that where the pain is buried, in the subconscious?
Yes.
The brain, the waking, the mind, the conscious mind falls asleep at night.
Right.
But the subconscious mind, which is where all the emotional trauma is, that runs 24/7. Yes.
That's right, Marcel. I mean, that is the issue. And so we have to dig deep. Yeah, nice work. We have to go deep into their past, and we have to get those good thoughts back, those good feelings. Their normal patterns have to come back into their life. And sleep is huge. Without good sleep patterns, it's really hard to break this cycle, because again, you have to go to work. You have to have value. And love is value. Understand, your family, that's a value. And if you start to lose that ultra value in your life, you get lost. But the sleep is huge. Sleep is a real problem in this field. I mean, often we have
sleep deprivation is used for torture.
Right. And they're actually torturing their own minds at that point. So we really have to dig deep in our therapeutic side of it. That's why you need the therapy and the vocational, and then the support around it all simultaneously. And that's kind of, that's what we do. And we saw that early on when the soldiers started coming back from the war.
The family training is invaluable too, because my over 20 years in brain injury and working with Eisenhower for a long time and knowing the professional organization that they have. But the biggest thing is when they admit somebody is the training. And they always want, and I always would tell people, we want the family to be involved in the training.
Good.
Because that goes back to the episode you're talking about on TV last night, Bob, that the wife, the spouse, who knows what happened with training, but that's the one thing that Eisenhower Center does is they make a point of that. They want the family there for sure for training, and it's ongoing. So it's not just a one-time thing.
Good.
And that's where a lot is lacking with these families or spouses, because they don't want to believe that their loved one has an injury.
Right.
Well, that
Absolutely.
goes to the same, like with, let's say, substance abuse, alcoholism.
Right.
You've got
Enablers.
Alcoholics Anonymous, but then you have Al-Anon, because the people that live with that can develop their own insanity.
Right. Right.
If they're not trained, if they're not educated, living with something as dysfunctional as just, alcohol or drug abuse can lead to someone having their own psychological and emotional issues. And that's why families, friends need to be educated as well. So I would imagine that would fall in place with what you guys are doing. If you're only treating the husband or the wife that has the problem, but you're not educating the family.
Exactly. You have to do both.
You're only getting halfway there.
Right. And you're discharging them back to a family that may not understand the new person coming back or what
Oh, sure.
the new supports they need around them.
Right.
Good. Being Air Force that I am, I really like the fact that you guys are out at Selfridge. Being from Michigan, being out there a number of times. Can you tell us what you're doing out there and how you got there? Because what you said yesterday was just outstanding.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with Selfridge is that we realized that we had to help rebuild the family, but at the same time, why wouldn't we be rebuilding Selfridge or getting them certified or rebuilding America? I mean, there's a huge need in our workforce for those folks who are like electricians and mechanics and all that kind of stuff. So why not go to the base? Let's rebuild the homes. Let's get these veterans certified. Let's get them so when they're out in the world, they have high paying jobs. They have value that they're bringing back to their families. They're getting rid of the debt that they had because, let's face it, being a veteran, you don't make a whole lot of cabbage. And so so it's hard to start again. It's hard to go back to school. It's hard to afford the books. These things are out of reach now for a lot of veterans. So we decided that Selfridge should be the whole package. It should be about suicide prevention. It should be about vocational intervention. It should be about how do we put the whole package in one place so the VA can use us as like a supplement. We realize we're not going to care for the million veterans that the VA helps every day. Yeah. We're going to help those few that we can help get through some of these toughest times of their life. Good. And so the total package is what matters. And I know there's great centers that do this, or there's a great center that does this kind of therapy over here. Eisenhower saw very early on that we need to be a center that puts it together and make sure that the veteran and their families are really getting the most from what they can offer back to this world, because it's really about what can they do back into our America, right?
Sure.
Because they're our heroes once. Hey, if they help rebuild America, they'll be our heroes again.
Absolutely.
And that's really the goal of any military person.
Yeah, good.
Not being a military person, what is or was this place you're talking about, Selfridge? Is it an air base? Is it a?
Yeah, it's an Air National Guard base. So it has everything. It has Army, Marines, Air Force, Navy. It has don't forget the Coast Guard. It has a reserve. It has everything is on that base. It was one of the original bases back in the day when we first took to the air. So the Wright brothers were training off that one. It's a very old air base. It's right on a lake. The facility that we have is, I mean, if you live there, you're looking at the lake. It's lakefront property. So where they live and where they will be, that nice environment, it'll be safe, of course, because you're inside, you're on a base.
Right.
So you'll know that, that end of your world is kind of, you don't have to be looking over your shoulder.
Yeah.
You can start looking forward again. And so there, it's an active Air Force base. I mean, the A-10s fly out of there, refueling tankers fly out of there. So it's pretty active.
So it gives them a sense of familiarity. Yeah.
It does. And some people want that, some people don't. But when they get there, we make sure that it's not that same where you're going to have to go out and do calisthenics. It's where you're going to have to go out and, find your life.
Good. Now, you mentioned yesterday about a particular soldier, I think it was, that you did some work with, and then you had a 4-star general approach you. Can you tell that story again?
Well, people don't really understand how wonderful the military is, especially to its heroes. So we had a young gentleman in here. He went through therapy. He went to Walter Reed. He came, he had to be flown to Germany, the whole scenario. Walter Reed, back to Ann Arbor. Everyone did a great job with him.
Good.
But what happens next is you run out of time.
Yeah.
And he was behavioral health. And that was new to these wars, right? Coming off the battlefield, concussion, head traumas, out of control frontal lobe damage. And he came out behavioral, and the mother was she's, what am I going to do? I can't take him home. I'm older now. I can't, this is too much for us. So we took him in for free because that's what we do. Right. And so this gentleman came to us. He lived here in North Main, actually. And, I thought, okay, he's just one of our American heroes. We heard that he had done some amazing things, but we didn't know, you're not really privy to the stories. So you just
Right.
have to believe in this man. So we do. So
Good.
we take him and we start working with him. And I'm here and I'm on the weekend. I work a lot. And so I just love being here. So I'm here, and all of a sudden a 4-star general walks in and says, I'd like to talk to Matt. And I'd say, well, actually, yeah, who are you? Because you really can't unless Matt wants to talk to you. He said, son, because I guess they like to say that to people like me. Where I would, and I didn't realize he was a 4-star general at first. It wasn't really resonating with me. And he said, I'm a 4-star general who came to see one of our top American heroes that you're doing a fantastic job with, I understand. But I think I'll probably, I want to see him kind of like right now if I can. I said, that's when I started to wake up from my coma and say, oh man, how slow am I? I got to work on that. Anyway, so it was a 4-star general who came to see one of his fallen heroes and, flew in from, the DOD. And I was like, welcome to Eisenhower.
Yeah, no doubt.
Because at that time we're just here for him.
Sure.
That's who we are. We're not here to have PR or fanfare or anything like that. We're here for that gentleman was going to get everything we had, and he did. He's doing really well right now. So
Good.
That was good.
I love that story. That's a total success story with the humor put in it with the 4-star general. But yeah, that says a lot about you guys as far as I'm concerned, and I know Marcel too. But that's rare. That really is rare, and I love your approach, and especially with the veterans, because I know you use that with everybody.
There was a different story that happened to us too. I if you don't mind, Bob.
No, please go ahead.
Well, of course, I don't learn, right? It takes me 1,000 times before I get bright enough to do this. But I was working with a gentleman named General Miller. He's really good. He's really kind. He's helping us learn how to speak, generalese, whatever that language is. And we currently have another American hero that saved one of the generals when they were a lieutenant. And so General Miller was coming to his first meeting at Eisenhower Center, And he said, should I wear my suit? Or I said, no, we're pretty casual. I had forgotten that we had asked General Goldfein to come in with his entourage, and you're Air Force, so you know that General Goldfein is the top dog in the Air Force. He just retired, right?
Yeah.
But so General Miller came in and he recognized General Gold, and he went, after the meeting, General Miller said, Mr. Cornack, when you're going to bring in a 4-star general with his whole entourage, I would have worn my suit. I said, I didn't realize that General Goldfein was that big a deal. I knew that our hero was, but General Goldfein is just so down to earth.
Yeah.
He is. So nice. You see him as this amazing, passionate person who is just coming in to see what is it that this Eisenhower's doing that's different from the other places that he's hearing about. And I knew General Goldfein was coming, but I didn't know how much it would impact General Miller. So they really respect each other. And I really like that. But yeah, he was a little surprised to see him here. So
yeah,
we've been blessed to be able to meet some folks and really be able to help some folks. And that's really what it's about for us.
Good. Yeah, absolutely.